3 Disturbing True Trucker Horror Stories, Volume 10. Number 1. I got my first job when I was only 16 years old at a local Stewards gas station and convenience store in my town. Being a high school student at that time, most of my shifts were scheduled later in the day. Since I didn't have my own car, I often had to walk home after work. It wasn't too bad though, as it was only a 20-minute walk. On days when I started work from home instead of school, I would take my bike and cut down the travel time to half. However, things changed one day in the middle of May. It was around 8 p.m. and the piled up snow had made the shoulders on the side of the road smaller. I was pretty much walking on the road, and it was dark outside. To stay safe, I shone my phone's flashlight on the ground in front of me to alert any oncoming drivers that I was there. But unfortunately, my phone's battery died before I even made it a quarter of the way home. Thankfully, I noticed headlights coming up from behind me. As the vehicle passed me, I saw a large 18-wheeler truck pull off the side of the road. Since nothing bad had ever happened in my town, I didn't hesitate to accept the driver's offer of a ride. The man driving the truck looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s as far as I could tell. He was as nice as could be. We talked about work during the ride, and I asked him how long he had been a truck driver. He told me that he had been driving since he was 18 years old, and when I asked him what company he worked for, he said, "Oh, here and there." I should have taken that as a sign that he might not have actually worked for a company around my area, but I didn't think anything of it. I was enjoying the ride until I realized that we had missed the turn for the street that led to my house. I tried to tell him that we missed my street, but he didn't respond. Growing more and more concerned by the second, I went to reach into my pocket to pull my phone out, but he told me not to do that. That's when I decided that my only chance would be to catch him off guard. I asked him where he planned on taking me, hoping that I could distract him while I slowly used my right hand to get my phone out of my pocket. But then I remembered that my phone was dead, so calling for help would be useless. As I was about to give up hope, I thought of something that ended up saving my life. I took a deep breath before unclicking my seatbelt with my left hand, catching the driver's attention. I threw my phone at his head as hard as I could, and it hit him in the face, sending his head into his hands as he clutched his nose. I took this opportunity to unlock and open the truck door, and without thinking about the consequences, I jumped out. I tucked and rolled as I hit the ground, but I felt something pop in my hip as I rolled along the pavement. However, I couldn't waste any time. We had only passed my road a minute or so before that, so I knew that I wasn't far from home. I got up and began sprinting through the woods along the side of the road, not looking back. As soon as I made it up to my porch, I threw myself into the house and locked the door shut behind me before calling the police. My mom got home about an hour after the incident, and the police were still on our driveway. Number 2. It was a dark and stormy night, and I was driving home alone after a long day at work. I couldn't wait to read home and relax. I had been working late and had not noticed that my car was running low on gas. Suddenly, in the middle of nowhere, my car sputtered and died, leaving me stranded on the side of the deserted road. At first, I was calm and relaxed until it started to rain heavily. The wind was howling outside and the rain was pelting my car. I hate rain, especially when I'm outside my home traveling to and fro. I tried starting my car again, hoping it would start this time, but it wouldn't turn on. I kind of was losing my temper after multiple tries. I gave up and realized that I had no choice but to get out on the road and find help. As I stepped out of the car, I felt a chill run down my spine. It was cold and windy outside. It was still raining pretty heavily. I felt as though something was watching me, something that I couldn't see. I looked around but saw nothing but darkness and the rain pouring down. The sound of the rain and wind made it hard to hear anything else. I shook it off, thinking it was nothing but my imagination playing games with me. I never believed in spirits or ghosts, but then suddenly there was a whisper. I heard a voice whisper my name. My heart skipped a beat. I turned around, but there was no one there. I again tried to brush it off as my imagination, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Maybe someone or something was following me. There were no vehicles passing by this road, plus no sign of life. As I walked down the road, I saw an old abandoned house in the distance. I thought of visiting the house and asking for help or maybe seeking shelter therein. But as I approached, I saw a figure in the window. I wasn't able to make out who or what it was, but I could feel its eyes on me. I tried to ignore it and continued walking towards the door. I pressed the doorbell, and not to ask for help, but nobody answered the door. I waited for a few minutes until I pushed the door open out of curiosity. As I entered cautiously, I was greeted by a musty smell and the sound of creaking floorboards echoed throughout the house. It was an old abandoned house that looked like it had not been lived in for years. I walked around attentively, looking for any signs of life or shelter. As I was walking, I heard a noise coming from upstairs. It sounded like someone was walking around. I shouted for help again in case anybody was able to listen to me. I slowly made my way up the stairs, but as I got closer, the noise stopped. Something felt wrong. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw a figure in the distance standing in the hallway. It was a ghostly figure, and it seemed to be staring straight at me. I was terrified and frozen in fear. The ghostly figure started walking towards me, and I realized that I had to get out of there. I turned around and ran down the stairs, but as I reached the bottom, the door door slammed shut and the lights went out. I was now in complete darkness and I could feel somebody's presence in the room closing in on me. I tried to find my way out, but I stumbled and fell, hitting my head on the floor. I was unable to move, and I felt paralyzed as I lay there. I could hear the sound of the footsteps getting closer and closer. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone. I thought, this was it. This might be the end of my life. I'm about to die. Weird animal and bird noises echoed in the room. I closed my eyes thinking of my final moment. When the door slammed open, the lights came back on, and I was surrounded by a group of people that had come to my rescue. It so happens that they had heard about the abandoned house and had come to investigate. I was relieved, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was not right. I asked them for their help, still second guessing if I should trust them. As I got into their car, I again saw the ghostly figure in the window looking straight at me. I knew that I had escaped something terrible, but I was not sure if I had truly left the ghostly figure behind, to be honest. I still am not sure. From that day on, I never drove down that road again, and I never forgot the terror that I experienced that night. Number 3. Driving alone at night had always been a preference for me until that one fateful night. It was around midnight and the road was dark, deserted, and without streetlights. I was lost in thought, listening to music and enjoying the silence when suddenly a figure appeared in front of the car, and the brakes were hit hard to avoid hitting them. However, when I got out to check what had happened, there was no one in sight. As I was about to get back into the car, a faint whisper was heard, and a strange sensation was felt. The engine was acting abnormally, and the headlights were flickering. Then a tapping sound was heard coming from the roof of the car. Looking up, I saw a ghostly figure of a man, whose clothes were tattered and old, with pale, translucent skin. The figure had a pocket watch in his hand, and the ticking sound was audible. I was frozen with fear and tried to start the car, but the engine wouldn't turn over. The man on the roof of the car was getting closer and closer, and I knew I had to do something. Without any second thought, I decided to abandon the car and started to run in the opposite direction. As I ran, I could hear the man's footsteps getting closer and closer, and his voice whispering foreign things in my ear. I eventually came to a gas station, collapsed on the ground, and was taken to the hospital. The doctor said it was a panic attack, but I knew it was more than that. I had seen a ghost, and it had followed me, trying to take me to the other side. The experience was terrifying, and I could not wrap my head around what I had seen. It was a night that I would never forget, and I would never drive alone at night again. The fear had taken over, and I knew that I could not risk going through such a terrifying experience again. Driving alone at night can be an eerie experience, and it is not uncommon to hear strange sounds or see unusual things. However, this particular night was beyond any ordinary experience. I had encountered a ghostly figure, and the fear was so intense that I had a panic attack. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this in the future.